Hello, Anna. How are you? Takina will be joining us shortly. Hello, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
That's good to hear.
I know Takina will be with us soon.
Wow. That's good.
Let's see, how do I? Jeez. Takina, how are you?
Did you say something? Who did you say something to?
Oh, to Takina.
Oh, sorry.
On.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How is everybody?
Good, yeah.
Hanging in there.
Right.
Yeah. How about yourself?
The same.
Yeah.
All right, so I want to share a couple of things up front as we start to go through things. And one of them is feel free to laugh at me during this, just not too much because it's my first time kind of moderating a panel virtually. And the other day we had our first Instagram live, so I'll apologize in advance for humorous moments should they happen that way. I know that two of our panelists, Parm is in class. His class actually is meeting synchronously. He may join us if there's time at the end. If not, he will join us next week. And unfortunately, something happened which prevents Alexis from joining us today. But she hopes to be here next week as well. So for those of you who may not know me, my name is Mike Pastella, and I work in student involvement in The Point, and I'm serving as moderator for our panel today with Takina and Hannah. And we have some set questions. I'll be asking them about your officer transitions, and then you'll be able to ask questions as well as we do that. So to hand off the mic, so to speak, Takina and Hannah, if you'd like to introduce yourselves to those sharing today. And also, if you didn't notice, this is recording so that there's a chance of us possibly being able to share it with student leaders later, so as they can view it through the Campus Life page. I can't promise you it will be uploaded there, but there's a chance of it. Wanted to make you aware.
Okay. My name is Takina. I'm a senior, and I am the Student Association president for
My name?
the 19 to 2020 year. Sorry.
No, it's okay. And my name's Hannah Gerlich. I'm also a senior. I'm the president of the women's club rugby team on campus for the 2019-2020 year as well.
Okay. So the first question I have for Hannah and Takina is, what do you wish you knew going into your current position? And if you've held other roles on other groups and want to identify that beyond the ones you identified as SA president and women's rugby president, that would be fine too. But what do you wish you knew going into your role?
I believe for me, it was definitely like, it's okay to ask questions, or it's okay to, if you're unsure about something, to kind of use people in your network as a reference to supporting you. I was also the sorority president for Kappa Delta Phi Naz colony here on campus for the 18 and 19 academic year. And I was always kind of stuck, kind of making my way as a new organization on campus. And I kind of always wanted to have the right footing with the steps that I was making. And I kind of used my peers that were also working with me, and kind of like my advisors that were helping me with the organization provide me advice. I definitely recommend taking advice from other people to help you.
Awesome, thank you. And Hannah?
Yeah. So for me, I wish I I had an idea of what the time commitment would be. I was secretary for fall 2018 and treasurer for spring 2019. So I had a little bit of an idea of like the time commitment, everything that I would need to like step into being president. But I wish I had more of an idea of like being able to better either allot my time appropriately or know like how much time to take out of my week to put just towards like making sure we get to games, talking with our teams, working with the 12 other e-board members I have to make sure that we're all flowing together, like both in sync with each other and each person is doing their role. But I think what really helped me transition was being on e-board for a full year before I became president. So that helped me see like what were the motions like beforehand, what were some other people's roles and how did they treat their presidency before I joined in too. So I think that really helped, and I'm really thankful for that and being able to transition in smoothly with that one.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. Our second question, and I apologize as I look off camera because I'm reading these off my phone as well to make sure I get them right. How were your position responsibilities shared with you? And based on that experience, how do you plan to share your responsibilities with the person who will be taking the role after you?
So for my transition into student association president was, I want to say it was kind of a little late in the like spring semester. So I kind of really had an online transition like a lot of individuals now are having one for this year. It was a series of phone calls, video chats, kind of sitting over the phone or FaceTime with the previous SA president and really working through all the documents that they had, like kind of like contracts, relationships with other members of our organization. And so that was kind of what we did. And for this transition, for supporting the new SA president, it's been very much like the same thing, really. And I definitely think always giving them that platform to ask questions is very important.
For me, how I learned a lot of like coming into president for this year is I was really close with our president last year. So she like took me under her wing, and when I was secretary, she would teach me like what are those ropes, what's associated with that. And then when I was treasurer, I think that really helped assist me in transitioning president because president and treasurer work hand in hand when it comes to paying for tournaments, paying for equipment, apparel, anything of that sort. But Sabrina, she like really made sure that I was involved with a lot of her processes, especially since I had shown interest in becoming president right in the beginning of the last fall. So she knew like we have someone that's interested. I have an opportunity to like take her along every step of the way. So I learned like right hand in hand with her, which I'm really thankful for. And I've been trying to do that with my own team as well. I've had a few girls who are interested in becoming president for this upcoming year. So they're both secretary and treasurer, so it works out nicely that way that I do work with them already. But I've been trying to show them like, hey, like here's a little tip and trick I found if you run into this issue next year. Or like either like write it down, take note of it, just like have a little something so it's not just that they just take the role as president and then they're just hit on all their own. I really want to sit down before like the end of the school year is over and write down like either a few notes or just a few pages on like what are some things that came up along the way, or what are like some things that need a little bit more time than others, and what are some things that you could really delegate to other members of your e-board, because I think that'd be really helpful to say like, okay, someone's been through this for a full year, they know like that I shouldn't spend a lot of time on this even though it might seem like it, maybe let's really involve our VP and secretary on it.
That's great to see how you both have really put a lot of time into thinking about how you moved into your roles and under different circumstances, and then how you'll transition others in, which does play to our overall theme of gathering and sharing about officer transitions and the importance of that, because it can have a huge impact in regards to the success of the organization moving forward. So thinking of that and thinking of it from a reflective point of view, and realizing that this is a very unique semester, especially since spring break, What does a week in the life of your role as a student leader look like, and how does that maybe change throughout the year with certain things that maybe if there's peaks and valleys or certain things you do at a certain point time of year, you don't have to worry about it another time of year?
I think for me, it's I always have kind of like a set schedule for classes, and my office hours always managed to be the same unless I had another appointment to attend to. But it was very, I want to say like bend with the breeze kind of schedule. Working in the position allowed me to understand like flexibility, but also leaving time out for myself. And so I spent a lot of time like really working on time management, and trying to understand a schedule that would work for me. And the work that kind of came into it was very different, when it came to different events that either were on campus or for certain meetings that I had to attend to. Those would change my schedule depending on the days and the weeks that they came up upon.
Okay.
For me, like with being a sport club, we basically have a meeting 6 times a week for 2 hours a day. So that like it's already a big enough chunk out of my day as it is. But how I really try to do it, especially with like one of my small e-board positions, such as public relations, new member educator, community service, I really tried and either set up a meeting either right before or right after practice, so it's convenient for the both of us instead of let's meet at 7 a.m. when we're both just woken up out of bed and we only have the time for it. But one in a week, like same thing, like it really depends. Our fall and our spring semesters are really different. Like the fall is pretty set unless we continue on, which then that becomes, you have to just go week by week and sometimes day by day to figure out where you're going, who you're playing, who you're bringing with you. Our spring is usually a little bit different. This year's like very different. So I can't really like say much on that other than everything's been online and I've been trying our best to run as good as we can. But for the fall, I put a little bit of time into it every day, especially like right after practice, like I had said before. But some days it was more than others, and other times it was just there's nothing to do, or I can delegate this to someone else. So there's a lot of like looking at the options, looking at what needs to be prioritized, what's okay to be left for another day or another conversation, and going from there.
Okay. And that is interesting too, that, with different groups, be it a sport club, be it a group that maybe has a programming month, an academic group, a governance body, social organizations, that there can be a variety of different times and things that happen in regards to what you do throughout the year. And some, like I say, are just busy all the time because there's so much to do with governing the campus that way. So Titina and Hannah, what would be some general advice that you would have for new officers coming into their new role in their organization? It might be, we can kind of focus on the core 4, president, vice president, treasurer, secretary. If you have any unique thoughts on others, not that you need to address all those 4. Hey, I know you're president of this group or that group. I just got elected to this. What's some general advice for me as I close out the spring semester, as I get ready for the fall?
For me, I'd say like general advice, and advice I got from years prior was just like, you are going to have people that don't agree with you or don't agree with what you think is the best for the team, but it's like really okay to either go against what they're saying or like just have that hard conversation. Like have that hard conversation, get the air clear between you and if it's another e-board member or if it's you and another like teammate, group member, club member. Like don't be afraid to have those conversations. They're not fun for anyone, but they can be very productive and they can end a lot of disputes early. I'd also suggest like not being afraid to ask questions and utilizing your resources. We all have times where we think we can do it all and we're supposed to be able to do it all, but it's okay to not be able to do it all at some points and have to ask and reach out for help. So either reaching out to your other e-board members, especially like president reaching out to vice president, and having another person to either help you or sit by you while you're making a difficult decision or get someone else's input just acts as like a really good extra way to get some insight and see if someone supports you if there's any other ideas that maybe you didn't see before. So being able to reach out for help and not being afraid to do that, I think, is a huge thing, no matter what position you are, no matter if you're president, vice president, or if you're a new rookie or a new member educator or anything on a team. Like, don't be afraid to reach out for help from anyone that you think would help you.
Great, thank you.
Right. And I definitely, to jump off of what Hannah said, it's really, I agree on it, how it is very much so connecting with others and really building that team sense of a community in your organization. And I also do believe it's kind of knowing when to, like, sometimes you're not going to know and you are going to get advice from other individuals, and it's very important to kind of make your decision and stick with it, because when you begin to second guess certain things, it kind of makes how you are a leader in your organization very difficult. Definitely sticking to the decisions that you end up making in your organization and believing on them, it definitely makes a very big impact in your organization, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to build on that for those that are attending or might be viewing later, in the value in what Takina and Hannah shared of there's a great opportunity, and unfortunately this semester you may not be able to sit down, be it over a meal in the dining hall, over a cup of coffee or something like that, face to face, to talk to the person taking your role. But what you could do in regards to, be it FaceTime, be it a phone call, having some connection and sharing, here's what I go through throughout the year. Here are some key people, and who should I speak to about reservations? Who should I speak to about fields? What do I need to know about Greek standards and going to Kashanda if it's something with fraternity and sorority life that way? Where in SA should I go in regards to talking to the president or the director of finance, or meeting Liz or Selena that way? Coming in to see Maggie or myself or Maddie or anyone in campus life for that matter, for reservations, resources, and facilities that way. So while those attending are starting to think of some questions to ask our panelists, I wanted to quickly share a resource in sharing my screen. And where I'm going to bring you is into Laker Life. And in Laker Life, one of the things that you're going to be able to see is that when you go into the pages, now I'm a member of student involvement at the Point, which is why it shows up here, but you would be able to search for it if you wanted to. And if you click into our page and then scroll down to our documents section, you'll be able to, sorry about that Blair Witch effect of scrolling on you that way. But one of the things that you'll be able to do is download some things that were posted recently. Officer Transition Guide for Spring 2020, which has got some helpful pointers with it, and some information if you choose to use, if you're still waiting to do your elections, to use Laker Life to help with your elections that way as well. So I wanted to let you know it's that easy to go in and get some great pointers that I know Takina and other officers have seen as they've developed some things that way too. In addition to that, we will be utilizing our Instagram page, which is the point _ Oswego, to share some points next week as well, as we're featuring organizations. And Takina, I wanted to ask you, before we open it up for general questions from everyone, I know that some exciting things have been happening all year long in SA, and recently they've become, I guess, official is the official word to share about that. I wanted to see what you might like to share about that as well.
Right. So myself and the executive administration in conjoinment with the legislative body and the judicial body of Student Association, we have revitalized our entire new organization and officer transition and organization processes. So it's been a very big institutional change for us, but it is very positive and progressive change. And we're hoping that a lot of the things that we've gone through over the past several years as an organization, we're able to put into all these new documents. Hopefully I will be able to get to explain a little bit more as we're still in the process of editing and finalizing the documents that will be put up. But it's very exciting. It's very good stuff. It's a lot of the material is very supportive for all organizations, and we're hoping that this will allow you guys to be a lot more sustainable and strong as leaders on campus. So I'm excited.
Fantastic, and congratulations. I know that you, your executive board, I know the Senate and the legislative body have done a ton of work this year, and your fellow student leaders are fortunate to have you as leaders and benefit from all the work that you've done, even though some of that will really take root next year, which some of our attendees might be the first leaders working through that then, so they may benefit from that.
Right, and we're very much working with the new administration under the new president, Lizeth Ortega, to really ensure that that process and the transition between this semester and next semester is solid.
Fantastic, congratulations. So for those attending, this would be a great time for you to, if you have questions in general that you'd like to ask, if you have questions specific to Hannah or Takina, or myself for that matter, the mic is yours.
I have a general question. I'm vice president for NABA, and I was just wondering, like, my e-board members, they want to like switch positions. Like, is there like a procedure, or is just a given since they're already on the e-board?
Great, thank you for asking that wonderful question. The first thing that I would recommend is to follow your constitution. So in regards to NABA, how elections should take place, but also understanding that since we are all virtual, some of that may change in regards to location, timeline, how votes are done that way. If, and the other thing that part of what Eddie Kelly, this is Supreme Court Chief Justice, and I will be doing a program on Monday in regards to if there's basic principles in running your election and ways you can use Laker Life that way, or if there are other means you want to talk through, because using Zoom might work for some groups, especially if you used to vote by show of hand, using different polling methods, or like the essay election that ran really smoothly through Laker Life, you can do that through your page for NABA as well. If the most important thing is to focus on your core 4 officers. In the fall, when you go to re-register, you are going to need to have a president, vice president, treasurer, and secretary, and then you can identify who the reservation coordinators are. That's often the president and another officer. If you are able to, and it's organized enough to if you have additional offices to elect them, that's fantastic. But don't let that be a stressor right now. Don't let that be a burden. If you can get the core 4 roles in and then worry about electing other directors or officers in the fall, that is perfectly fine, especially this year with all the challenges of doing things remotely.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. I don't know if Hannah or Takina want to add to that.
I recommend definitely following your procedures, your governing documents of kind of how you should do your officer elections. I would also recommend being very transparent with other members of the organization and kind of mentioning to them about this, because if it is kind of a solid like switch, I guess, then it's definitely possible, just as long as both members and other individuals of your organization are aware of the situation and that these people are comfortable with taking on different roles within their group.
Yeah, like
Okay.
for us, we've always done our elections like in person with speeches. So we run into the difficulty of like, how can we portray that same thing doing it virtually? So we're probably going to be using Zoom for ours, which it's exciting with 30, 40 people to be on it all at once. But you can make it work if you're used to doing it just by like filling out a Google form, or if you do it like by vote, raise of hands, or if you just send in like who you want to vote for. I would just suggest trying your best to do it as you've always done it in the past, just so you can keep that flow. And it's not like a whole brand new election process right on top of everyone being online, everyone like we're already having some difficulties and an unfamiliar spring semester to begin with.
Thank you both, and thank you for that question. Other questions?
I had a question. I guess more advice, really. Our club is looking at having a major turnover in pretty much all of our e-board members. I'll be the only returning e-board member. So I was wondering if you had any advice for potentially bringing in an entirely new e-board and how to leave resources and prepare for next semester.
So that one for us, our e-board's 13 people, and I think of the 13 currently, 9 of them are graduating and we only have 2 returning. So in a very similar situation, but with us, I have tried to implement with our team, try and really speak with the person whose footsteps you're stepping into. So whoever the next president is, I want them to come to me and we have conversations. I want the new VP to try and go to the old VP as best as possible, just especially with all of our upcoming e-board will be juniors. We have a very young team, so brand new people on e-board, really young team. It can be difficulties and it can be stressful, but I've really tried to stress to everyone, regardless of if you're running for a position or if you just have questions, to talk to the people now, especially since we're all at school together. We're all still here. We all still have access to one another. So I really just pushed using the teammates that you have now, not being afraid to go to each other and ask this is really random, but how did you deal with the first week back? How did you deal with the end of the year? What did you do all the way? Don't be afraid to ask questions and really, really try and push those conversations and stuff like that.
I do also have to agree. I've had situations with student association, it is a very big administration change and a big turnover. And I also kind of experienced something like that in my sorority. And I guess you can't really be in every single place at once, but I do recommend knowing the responsibilities and the goals of each position that is being added with the new individual. That's part of the new transition. Even if you aren't understanding fully how their position works, I've never been a good treasurer personally, but even if you don't know the position, knowing the responsibilities of that position and kind of their goals will definitely allow you to be a supporter and a better peer in your organization while they're seeking help for how to be better at their position.
I would echo Takina and Hannah's sentiments, and hopefully the current officers would be willing to do those one-on-ones with the incoming officers. So that way a secretary could sit with a secretary and say, this is how I put together the agendas, or this is how I share information, or this is how we deal with our social media if it's that person or a different person in that role. That your treasurer is working with the new treasurer to know that they should go into the point and meet Liz and the new director of finance and see what needs to be done in regards to transitioning things, names on accounts, checking physical mail once we're able to do that again in the point as well. And who are key players? If the organization does a lot of programming and this person in campus life has been really helpful, to say to the person, you know what, I can't bring you to campus life and do this introduction. I'd like to do it because we're remote, but please talk to so-and-so in campus life because they've been a great help. And maybe even shoot that person an email now and just to say, hey, I'm going to be the new so-and-so in this group. I heard that I'll be working with you. Any pointers you can offer me going into things that way. I know for myself, it's exciting to get those emails. I've had a couple of officers email me and say, I've just been elected to this. They told me to talk to you. I have no idea what to do. And it'll be okay, let's set up a Zoom or email me some of your questions and I'll get back to you and let's see how we can do this. And then I don't know that there's a magic way of doing this, if the one-on-ones are better or the group meeting first. But if you can do those it might be easier to do the one-on-ones because we're remote, and then bring the new officers together and talk about how do we feel about where we are? How do we feel about what we're going to do for reservations, programming, getting our word out there, staffing, hopefully the table for the involvement fair in the fall, and our social media over the summer and things moving that way. And then as new officers maybe think of even questions you forgot or weren't able to cover, then trying to do something electronically, either Zoom, Hangout, something like that, with a lot of the outgoing officers to say, okay, here's what we think we have in order. What else do we need to know? you know, and what else have we forgotten? And some of that is just making sure that like the new president, the outgoing president shares, you know, there's a value. You've got to be watching those emails that come from Laker Life and knowing that the Laker Life page needs to be updated, because the officers that are listed there are the ones that are going to get all the critical emails that go through the system, through student association, and from myself for the college that way. So sometimes it's just as simple as doing that. And groups sometimes in the fall behind and maybe miss the involvement fair, miss a treasurer training or something for Title IX because they didn't update the officers before they left. And this year is going to be more critical than ever because there's a lot of bumping into people. So it's one of those things where someone might go to make a reservation or bump into someone and it's like, oh, we'll go see Mike in the Point, I'll help you out. And we can work on things that way. But now the more people we can have properly transitioned and listed before they go, the more that we can assist. And that's something we're still, as Takina and Hannah shared, we're still here, even though we're not where we normally are in regards to help and assistance that way. So feel free to utilize Barbara, Maggie, Kashanda, I in the Point, and then the whole team at Campus Life and elsewhere too.
Okay. For the Point, this is my first year being an officer, so I was kind of started in the fall. Over the summer, how does the Point function? Because I feel like a lot of our transition for our new e-board will be later in this semester into the summer. So are there any resources?
Yes. So traditionally speaking, and I want to kind of put quotes on that. Once commencement takes place, we normally go to something called summer hours. So during the academic year, under, again, air quotes, normal times, we're open 8 a.m. to midnight, and staff can be there a variety of times. Our core times are probably 8 to 5, but then we're for programs, other events, things like that. But in the summer, it tends to go more to an 8 to 4. So we are there, unlike full-time faculty who may not be available over the summer. The staff and student involvement in Campus Life are, so we're still there for you. I'm hoping by June, by commencement, by whenever that would, well, when commencement would have been, I should say that we will be back in the Point offering things that way. However, if we're still remote, it'll be like this. And that's something where if I were able to help you and some of your officers and we set up a Zoom just for your group or a Google Hangout, we could do this and we could email things, and if required, because of internet things, we could figure out something for a phone call if we had to as well. So we don't go away, we're still available, but our hours are shortened for the summer.
Okay. Thank you.
And for physical space, again, normal operations, if you live locally or were visiting and wanted to pick something up or see someone, or if you're an officer of a group that has a workspace assigned, you would have access 8 to 4, Monday through Friday in the summer, traditionally. Again, until we reopen, currently none of us have access until things are reopened.
Thank you.
Yep. Other questions out there? Any concluding thoughts from Takina or Hannah?
I don't know, like with whatever position you go into, like we both said before, like be confident with what you do. Like there are gonna come times where you really question yourself, or if you really question, like, was I the best person for this job, or can I even do this? But know that you were put into this position, you're elected in position for a reason. Your friends, your teammates, your club members all believe in you to like hold your position. So like, yes, there will be bad days, like it will happen, but like you're there for a purpose. Like you were elected there because you're the best fit. And like, don't forget that even when the times get rough, where you feel really stressed, or if there's a lot of stuff happening all at once with your club and classes and all of that, just take it like one day at a time. Know that you're there because you're the best fit for it.
I definitely agree too. And always remember to have fun in your position. It's very easy to forget that We're still in school and we still have a full-time class schedule. Just remember to have fun with with whatever your organization is doing.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's we certainly never want to lose the fact that this is fun. This is a chance for growth. It's an opportunity to engage in something that you love, be it a sport, be it a topic, and making a difference on campus. That's one of the beautiful things about SUNY Oswego, is that each of you and your fellow Lakers bring our organizations to life and provide such a vibrant community for not just your fellow students, but those of us that are have the wonderful opportunity to work and live and grow with you too.
Yeah.
Again, we are available. Feel free to look up any of the panelists. They're still listed as presidents of their organization, or myself in Laker Life. You can email us, and there are fresh resources available on the student involvement at the Point page in Laker Life. And there's a lot happening on the Point's Instagram page. So if you're not following us, please follow us if you do IG, and check out what we're doing there. We're going to have more things coming out in regards to elections and to officer transitions until next Friday. And so there's new things you'll be able to continue seeing that way. If your organization hasn't been featured yet and you didn't send pictures to me to feature you on Instagram, it's still not too late to do that. Feel free to shoot me an email. And if you put your organization's handle for IG into that email, helps me tag you as well when I do feature your organization. Because today was Bike Share, which is more a collaborative effort between SA and sustainability, but they were today's feature that way. If there were no other questions, thank you so much for attending today. I really want to thank our panelists, Takina and Hannah, for taking time. And if you think of questions for them or our extended panel, we will be meeting again on Wednesday, April 15th, which is not tax day this year. And that will be posted in Laker Life 2 in the events. Thank you for attending, everyone. And thank you to our panelists.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.